Main or most reasons why I do not like auto EQ, room correction. Bullshit! It's frequency correction for the loudspeaker. Actually, if you're going to do room correction, you got to apply the room, which mine is not ideal. It's far from my bloody ideal. This is 18 inches thick brick chimney breast, no longer. It's just all done up as a wall now, but it's pretty unnecessarily. It takes up the dimension of the room. It looks bloody... well, it's got no purpose. Everyone's got central heating now, so which is, I don't know. Doesn't matter. I could explain that very quickly. We'll soon use up all the fossil fuels, blah, 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 blah. The sun's got infinity, well, not indefinicy of hydrogen fusion fuel, because that's only got 4.8 something like billion years of that left. We'd probably have done ourselves in by then. Maybe we would never leave the solar system to get to another planet, because that is virtually totally and utterly totally impossible. And if there is one word I hate, that which is the word impossible, and in which case that is impossible, because you'd never live to see another planet, because our lifespan is too short. Or there is so many unforeseeables that could happen. Something could hit the spacecraft, it could decompress, it could be totally pulverized, it could get knocked off its course heading and then go completely in the wrong direction. Electricals, water, heating, anything. Even everything right down to the computer systems running the bloody thing. What, you think they're going to have software and they're going to upload bloody software when you're like a few hundred years out? Even by then, a signal would take years to reach. It takes 24 hours to send a signal to Voyager and get a signal back on very low power on Voyager. The antenna is facing towards our solar system, for those that don't know, and it's using very low power signal, and that signal has to be picked up by big ears on the planet, VLAs as such, and that signal coming in is more low powered than my CB radio. Think about it. 430 watts of energy is what Voyager left with. A little bit of nuclear propulsion energy, what do you call it? Nuclear, not hydrogen, plutonium. And then some of that gets turned in dust to electricity, turned into heat. Dust powers certain vital systems required on the Voyager spacecraft, most of which are all turned off now, and there's only a few that but it still takes 24 hours to send, another 24 hours, so it's 48 hours, and then sending back. And that spacecraft is moving, two of them, one at 46,000 and one at 47,000 mile an hour, I think. Doesn't matter which, it's still faster than any flipping Formula One race sport fancy car that you could buy on this planet. In fact, that's faster than man re-entered the Earth. I think one time they re-entered the Earth at a very high velocity speed, and one time when they were going to the moon, they were going at a very fast speed. But Voyager unmanned space probe is still... Anyway, what's it got to do with fucking EQ? I really don't know. Anyway, so the impossibilities and shit. If I were to make the wall over there, the void, and make it as like that, I would literally, well, I don't know about the weight load of a load of weight of bricks. That kind of bothers me. But, anything like bricks, house bricks are cheap. At the end of the day, they are cheap, but very good. They'll be very useful. Other materials like rock wool, I could really stuff it up with rock wool, put wood beam slightly on the inside of the chimney breast, go up, round and down, so it goes up near to the front, which is just about under 1 meter between there and up to the front walls, just under 1 meter. It's about 7 feet 8 inches right up to the top. So then I would finally put some thick MDF and screw it in, and have it padded. So, so it'd be like that. And thus, theoretically, the frequency wouldn't go into that corner. It would be pushed out away, thus lifting up certain frequencies, certain bass frequency, thus lifting it up. And the same would apply for the subs. It would apply for that screen speaker over there and that one there, the center, the right, the left center, and the left. It would apply to those, and maybe even apply to the surround speakers, because the sound's going to go zigzag around the room. It's going to zigzag all around the room, very fast, very quick, in just a few milliseconds. But here's what the Odyssey room EQ, or speaker frequency equalizer thing, did. This is what it did to the center channel. Oh my goodness, it's done it so many times. This is recent. I can't activate the Odyssey at the moment. I can't switch it on to do another REM frequency sweep, but you clearly see between, this is where the crossover point is, around about 500 hertz, where the crossover slope is. You see, the Odyssey is not intelligent. No EQ auto is intelligent. It doesn't have a consciousness, okay? Like we have got a consciousness. It doesn't have an attitude, okay? It doesn't have a personality. It's a piece of machinery designed by people, maybe who have got issues with them, everyone's got issues, everyone does. Even my cats, even my cat Bear's got issues with my cat Magic. So that puts a honk into the sound, a very honky sound, which is unnecessary, shouldn't even exist. Because Odyssey and all these auto, if I use Dirac or any other auto, it's going to apply the same sort of thing. It's going to put a boost at that frequency because it's dipping down slightly at the crossover point, and also has a time delay on the bass channel with the THX sound system. So you delay the bass because you got your bass driver here and the HF horn is back here, and so forth. You got to delay the bass slightly so it comes back and more or less in line level with the HF. So time arrival. The stupid Odyssey, the stupid room EQ, room correction, whatever, cannot tell what speaker I've got, what room it is. It doesn't know any of that information. You can't even design the shape of the room, yeah, like you could with a room EQ wizard. You can use that simulation, and that simulation thing is pretty close. It always would say, yep, I got a frequency peak of bass in this room. I do a frequency sweep to where everything's placed. That simulation is a lot of thought has gone into that with the engineer, the guy that designed it, John something, that designed that program. I mean, that is, all these auto, EQs, I just use it, I do manual EQ. I don't care how bloody intelligent the bloody auto EQ can get. At the end of the day, I would do manual, because human decision is required.
Factors in memory bank relating to Operation Exodus inapplicable. Insufficient data available under prevailing circumstances. Human decision required.
So it looks like he didn't use manual EQ. The steps and ways I would go over EQ, the steps I would take would be a way lot more than what a Trinov with that stupid microphone. I mean, really, I believe that thing's powered by a 9-volt battery or something. Huh? What? Bloody hell! So's my Tandy Realistic. That's powered by a 9-volt. I think that Odyssey microphone overrated. You know, with microphones that are kind of like this sort of thing. They're all at different heights, positions, and that. Oh gosh, golly, I could do that with a Behringer and just I could either stick a specific adapter on the boom where I can have multiple microphones, and all I do then is just slide them up and down, move them up and down here, you know, just slide them up and down at different heights. Huh? Does the same fucking thing. You know what I mean? And cheaper. And all you have to do is pass it through an audio mixer into the EQ. So your EQ, you know, after using an Odyssey or whatever, so, you know, how much whatever it costs or any other auto EQ, it might end up looking like...
Mahoney. It's gotta be Mahoney. I know.
So the steps I would take would be using a microphone near the speakers. I could put multiple. I could put one and do this one each time. Put a microphone up near the HF, one near the bass, near close. Get a frequency response reading to the characteristics of what it looks like, as well as having 2 RTAs. So if I open up a second REM and then put an RTA. Whoopsie. Put one over there. Get the other RTA. It's a simple trick. I hate these bloody fucking cursors. Okay, now. So the time take it does to set up this does kind of like have its rewards. There's not many people, home theatres, that would use this technique. I've been using this technique now for quite a few years now. So then you have to go into each REM. So if I open the REM for this side here, and the REM for that side, you've got to go into the preference. No, not the police academy. The preference. Got to go up to the preference. If I zoom, focus. Let's put the camera handheld. So you got to go into this preference, and then you got the input, and you got left and right input. The microphone's in the way there. You can see it now. You got input, and you just assign one for left and one for right. Now, what you're going to do there is you're going to have the direct audio signal coming from the amplifier or from the crossover system, the electronic crossover or DSP, and it's going to be displayed. So you see the actual direct with the actual pink noise coming from the speaker in the room. And then you got a level match it as near as possible. You know, the curve, it will be a little bit, you know, it might have a little hump in the room as it is in the room, but you just get some part of it leveled, and then you know that, okay, got to put a filter in there. for the room, because how it is in the room, playing and, interacting. It's not a room EQ wizard, it's a room correction thing again. It's a bloody speaker correction, so you're just correcting, as long as you got enough bloody amplifier power. If you don't, you're going to run out of headroom. You would run out of headroom, and then you're going to clip the amplifier. You hear strange noises and sounds because the amplifiers ran out of amplifier power. You've got to have sufficient power to adjust and not do too much EQ cut. If you do too much EQ cut while trying to blend everything together, the lows to the highs, the crossover point, actually I like to expand and explore, because the compression driver could go down just a fraction more below 500 hertz. So I could tune the crossover, but that's when I had a DSP DCX, but now I've got the THX in. It's got prefixed crossover filters at 500 hertz. So I would look at the results, and I could then have, with the audio mixer, I could have multiple microphones. So I could have another microphone that's here, and then use the sliders and get the level and get some part of the proportion of the frequency and level it, by using the slider, by raising the gain level until it looks almost, and then I kind of like look at the result there and think, yeah, needs a bit of adjustment because it sounds a bit harsh in the bass mid, in the upper part of the bass mid, or it sounds a bit too damn harsh in the HF, and I need to get that smooth. And then afterwards also I can then apply a filter, a high pass filter on it, to give it an elevation, even though the THX does have an elevation filter for screen compensation to boost the high frequency up, depending on amplifier, because most amplifiers, that's why I use the thing to test the amplifier. Is the amplifier flat? Does it have a slight elevation, or does it have a decreased? Is it rolling off slightly? It's going to be one of the three. If it's flat, it's okay, because the THX crossover will put an elevation frequency boost, which is paramount. So then you hear the high frequencies above 8,000 kilohertz up to 10, up to 60. So you can perceive those frequencies. And it's a little bit more than that, because you need amplifier power. You need to do that delicately, carefully. I wouldn't really recommend doing this with all these passive ones. It can get a little bit dicey, I think. I've seen results where passive crossovers are blown up tweeters in the past, and you don't want that. Contrast is very bright on this screen, and the camera's making it all go dark down the side. I hate these fucking smartphones. I really do, because of the high contrast. If I turn the contrast down, see, and then it adjusts. Oh dear. It's just like crappy room EQ, auto EQ systems, isn't it? Just makes a bloody mess. Trouble is, most people have gotten so used to these bloody auto EQ, and because the word goes around, a lot of misleading information. If you want to use it, if you want to use auto, because that's probably the only thing you got to use, and if you try to use manual EQ, most AVRs are not going to allow that application to be used. You got the crappy half octave EQ bands to use, which is 63 to 16,000 kilohertz. So that's 63, 100, 125, 250, I think, or was it 200, 250, 500, 1 kilohertz, 2, 4 kilohertz, 8 kilohertz, and 16,000. Oh, Christ's sake, please. That's okay if you measure your speakers up close with the microphones, one each at a time, and you could have a speaker that costs $10 billion. You know, it's going to be crap. Not one of those speakers, I don't think, are going to be exactly the bloody same, because the frequency curve. We're talking frequency curve. If you often do a frequency curve on an amplifier, direct, that is, direct, please. You look at the overlays, they should overlap, which in most cases I've tried, and they overlap. If they don't, and the frequency response doesn't have any other weirdness in it, but it doesn't overlap, then that's probably some sort of adjustment inside, like a variable resistor, and that just needs to be slightly adjusted. Or you could put something on the outboard of equipment, use variable resistors. I can never pronounce the bloody word, potentium meters or whatever, and it's just a variable resistor. You make tiny fraction of adjustment, and then you could get that frequency response to literally overlay. Like, wow, I can't tell which is which. That's how it should be. Next is comparing the actual speaker. So you've got to put the speaker on a bench, test this speaker and this and this and this. They're all the same speaker. They look the same, but it's not a case, do they sound the same? You wouldn't really notice that too much. You wouldn't really notice it too much until you do a frequency test, and then you look at the overlays, and it's like, yeah, is it going to be a problem? You know, is it going to be a problem? You got to set them up and then listen to some content where it's got usually movie soundtracks are probably preferred, better than just listening to music, because music is usually non-sync. It doesn't have any visual reference image, and some of these do that. They're just someone moving around with a bloody camera and a bloody and its microphones all microphoned up, yeah, but the actual camera that's going around with maybe stereo microphones on it is not actually picking up what personally is. You're in that position, that is what you hear. Okay, when it's all these concerts, I just can't bloody stand them. I'd rather sometimes listen to a concert that's been done in a studio. It's been done, and it's not one of these, you know, recreation sort of things like John Williams doing Star Wars. I wouldn't pay to sit in one of those concert halls listening to something that's not even the London Symphony Orchestra. Even if it was, it's not the same performers. Some may have passed, some most likely are retired. I would rather listen to the isolated score that was mixed at the Avalon, I think Avalon Studios or such, where it was done. And then later versions, this is for all the 20th Century Fox ones, were all done at Abbey Road Studio. I would rather listen to those than listen to a bloody orchestra just recreating it. Or then again, you could just have the isolated score and listen to it in the home, which a few videos have appeared on YouTube, but they don't exist anymore somehow, I don't think. But they could have done that for the DVD release, an isolated score. They did it for Superman, isolated score, and it sounds pretty damn good. And that's the London Symphony Orchestra. LSO. This video is getting a little bit over bloody. Anyway, I don't care if anyone uses auto EQ. I really don't care. I really don't particularly care if you use manual, but manual is the way to go. Manual, it takes a lot longer, but the rewards could be a little bit better than the auto. And then once you've done it with manual and you've got those settings saved, then try the auto with the microphone all in the same position and then try the auto, and then see how that comes close. See if it comes close or near to what you've actually done. That is, you may have turned off the bass channel, EQ'd the HF horns. So I usually do it that way. I usually start with the bass, the HF horn, and then I combine both of them together, because I need to know what the crossovers look. I need to know what iffies are happening in the bass crossover points. There might be some extra bass boost, and that's kind of like fudging the frequency response. It's messing it up and giving it false. Therefore, the auto is saying, I'm going to decrease that, when it shouldn't, because it doesn't know. It doesn't have a consciousness. I hope this video has been a little informative, and that you go and, okay, do it manual, but you got to have a lot of microphones. You can't just have one single microphone. The art of doing it is not expensive, but it's the technique of it requires quite a bit of microphones. And all the microphones I got, all the Behringers I got, is still cheaper than that stupid single Trinov microphone. Really, you could go and buy little, I think, little Panasonic capsule things. You could go buy those and get some disposable pen, because if you take the cap off the pen, the microphone just almost fits inside the pen. So you got something there, right? And then you can have the wires coming down inside the pen, and you can fit it to something, yeah? And you got your own Frankenstein Trinov microphone that only costs less than £100. Oh dear. Yeah, you have to still put a few other electronics with it, so that you can so it could be connected and powered up. I mean, the microphones that come for the Behringer, the microphones that come with the Odyssey, those little microphones. I've got about 3 of those microphones. I've got a lead. I'm not done it yet, but I was going to connect up a lead and do multiple microphone placement by putting several microphones all connected to the AVR. But I've got to make sure it's connected right, so it's got a handshake, because most of the other lead connections are TRS, that's tip ring sleeve. That's the tip up there, positive. The ring is the negative, I think, and then the sleeve is the ground, or the ground as such. So you got it's easy to get around that, and then I'll get a connection. I'll get the microphones talking all at the same time. I could do the auto EQ thing again. In fact, I could do it in a way where, if I had a bit more of those microphones, I'd place one near the HF, one near the bass, so they're picking up at the same time. Otherwise, if I put it slightly down between the bass and the HF, it's not going to be a good sounding result. So I'll put one near the HF, one there, and so on for the left, for the because the Odyssey ain't going to know I've got left centre, right centre, 5 screen. You know, it's not going to know that. When it comes to doing the multi-surround, now that's where it gets that's where it can get tricky, because I've got to have I've got to have microphone booths, I've got to have things, so they're all set up and measured away from the speaker, for the tweeter, the mid-range, the bass driver, and one near for the port. Oh yeah, and that also goes for another few microphones for the bass ports on the so that's like 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. That's 6 microphones I would need, because they need to be near the bass ports, because sound energy is going to come out from those bass ports. So I would need 6 microphones, and then another 6 and another 6. That's buying more and eventually those microphones will top over the price of a single Trinov microphone. Will go over that price range. But you go to a recording studio, you know, something like Abbey Road or what. I just use that because it seems more popular studio, worldwide famous. They're going to have hundreds of microphones in that place to use. All different types of brand, make, models. They're going to have lots of them. Lots of the same type model. They're going to have bundles of them. Bundles. And yet those bundles, each one is not cheap. So, again, there's stupid prices on the damn things, you know? But if I were to do all the microphones going around, and that's for the overhead and the below surround matrix as well, that's a lot of microphones. I will be climbing over microphones, almost climbing over them. But I would expect the result to come back as, I wasn't expecting that, or, okay. I can make a small little correction now. I can see what's going on. Make a small little correction. Or I would place additional microphones a little bit further in the room until literally they're microphones. And I would literally have to crawl underneath them or get a step ladder to climb over it. It will get to that point because the sound waves that come into the room are going not just this way. They're going that way, this way. They're going that way, that way. They're going literally vertical, and then as you move away from the speaker, it goes out and that goes like that, moves around in so many angles. The idea is to get the speakers to sound the same as possible. Whoops. I slightly deviated there because it's not possible to mimic. And, you know, that's why if you hear the pink noise coming from one speaker, it should sound like that in the next speaker and the next and the next and the next. But they don't. They're totally the opposite. They're the opposite. And that's where the tonality then doesn't come into play. If you listen to pink noise, play it, cycling, an auto pink noise that usually on most AVRs or AVP in their days, Pro Logic, and it cycles round. Sort of thing, yeah. If you played that into a single mono speaker, it has to go into an audio mixer and then come out to a single speaker. And if you then made just a simple time delay adjustment just to one speaker, you won't notice it until you do a pink noise all channel frequency sweep sort of thing, where it combines all the speakers all at the same time, all the channels at the same, and you see this little dip or a little peak where you've made a timer adjustment, or if you purposely put a frequency cut PEQ and lowered it down by a couple of dB, or even 1 dB for that matter, and then 1 dB up, you'll see it clearly, clear as day. And when it gets round to that speaker, you know, it's going to sound a little, that sounds a bit weird. But it's not easy to get the tone on the speakers to be the same, because their frequency response is all over the bloody place, like a roller coaster. It's all made up of single frequencies. 20,000 of them, isn't it? 20,000? That's a lot. I don't think there's a bloody EQ that can bloody, you know, not even FBQ. If you can hack an FBQ so you can go down to infrasonic frequency, and then every other frequency you can go into, but still you've only got 20 bands. If you unless they can make or modify. So you can, so this channel here can have total frequency range, so you could dial in any frequency and you can correct it, and then the next channel, and then every single bloody frequency, even if some frequencies are not necessarily needed, you got that option. Whereas some of these other options, they only go up to 40, I don't know, 148 on RAM. It can go up to 148, or you could use FFT, or was it FTT? And then you see all the individual slices of frequencies, and it's like, bloody hell, that is a lot. That is a lot. That's going to take me days just to EQ and correct just one single channel. And maybe you could copy that information and then apply it over to the next speaker, and then you got to then finalize by doing a frequency sweep. So you do a frequency sweep of that channel and then do the frequency sweep on the next channel to see if it's worked or not. If it's not, and it's just a little bit fraction out, then you could probably maybe use a parametric EQ, widen the Q a little bit or such, and then just apply it, and then just nudge it up a little bit, and then do a sweep again, and it's like bingo, spot on. That's what you should be getting. But as soon as that sound leaves the speaker and it's moving across the room, it's just like in real life. Okay? People, audiophiles, home theatre files, bloody hell. Have you ever taken the moment to talk to yourself how you sound in the room and walk around the room, and where your voice gets a little bit boomy or where it gets a little bit this and that? Have you ever taken that time to do a video and walk around? Have you ever heard make any other sounds in the room? And yeah, talking to yourself, because everyone does it on YouTube. That's why they make videos. Hello, in this video we're going to talk, and I'm thinking, who's we? Is there someone else? No, it's just someone that's got the camera here facing them, and they're on their own. Their missus is upstairs in the kitchen like a normal person preparing dinner for tonight. Well, her husband in the basement is cracking up and talking to himself. Oh dear, maybe I should be a psychiatrist. Yeah, psychiatrist, because your speakers have got issues. They got personality issues. They're not quite the same. They should be. They look the same, but they don't sound the same. And it's also angling the, the drivers, the tweeters. So if you got a microphone back here, so forth, and you got you could do this very, very close up nearby just by moving the speaker, physically the speaker itself, and then observing the pink noise, and you can see at a certain point angle where you put it, the high frequencies just they'll be up there, they just drop off, yeah, and then you position the microphone into that awkward position where the speaker is, and frequency goes back up. Closer you put it, it just goes up and up, just kind of like putting your ear near it. But I wouldn't advise doing that because you damage your hearing. You end up with tinnitus. Oh gosh golly, there's so many. And if you were to put a speaker with a microphone pretty close to it and just move it purposely near to the sidewall, or you can have it in the middle on the bench, and then have a piece of cardboard and then move that closer near to the speaker. You see the frequency response changing, just like. How many bloody times have I had to explain myself? I've seen one guy that's got a home theatre, It's very difficult. Mine's not perfect. Mine are pretty near to the side walls. I got the left center, right center, which I can turn on and use for music, and it's like night and day because they're very narrow. They're only there and there, and I'm sat back here. I'm off axis, but I can still hear the stereo. I still get that phasey delay effect with that Madonna music video Vogue, and there's an effect in it where it kind of makes me go like that because the way the sound is phasing and time delay moving in the mix at a certain point in the mix. Otherwise, now I can switch it over to the left and right. And does it sound the same? Yeah, it's a little out a little bit, but it can be corrected. But that takes a little of effort and time. And anyway, this video is 40 minutes. It's probably the longest bloody video I've done anyway. You know what I'm talking about. You'd think I'm talking bullshit, but it's probably all you lot. You're in a hurry. You want to play that crappy new Tom Cruise movie, which I have to admit, I've got a confession. It's kind of coming this next month. But I did see it on Amazon recently, 5-1. And I thought, what a load of crap. That scene with the Dark Star, which is totally fictitious plane, the SR-71 Mark II aircraft called the SR-72, which they think they want to get in flight 2025, 2030. I couldn't care less. If it's going to be weaponized, then it's a hostile plane. If it's a reconnaissance like the SR-71, which was just to take pictures and outrun missile attacks, which they say they never got blown out the sky. Maybe it did. We know the U-2 got blown out the sky, and that's why the skunk and the CIA got together and they came up with the SR-71 before my time, of course. But that scene in the movie is just crap, where it just flies overhead. Ed Harris from the Abyss movie, which is still not on 4K Blu-ray. We don't care about Top Gun with Ed Harris in it. We want the fucking Abyss. Okay, where it goes and blows the roof off that. I was thinking that the bass just seemed underwhelming. It seemed crap, utter dire dog shit. And I thought, fuck it, I'm going to put that other movie on with the SR-71 Final Approach, Dolby Stereo, PCM, 424 Matrix. Fucking hell, the bass on that pressurizes. It's got oomph. And yet that top... Yeah, well, it's probably a near-field mix for a bloody soundbar. They probably used audio compression on it and compressed the dynamic range. So the dialogue's almost sounding almost within a few dB of the loud sound effects. Oh dear, whereas in real life, if a real explosion go off and you're talking that level, the bloody explosion's going to be that bloody level. But yeah, this is why 70mm was just so damn good. Uncompressed audio, 6-track mag, Stripe, A-Type SR, in a THX sound system cinema with JBL speakers, puts any Atmos in the dust.